Welcome to CSGuitars, the science of loud. I was going through some saved screenshots of TATA questions I've been asked, looking for something that would make a quick and easy video, and came across this one from Drift Like Tokyo. What happens if you plug your guitar directly into a cabinet without an amplifier? Now, I think I know the answer to this one. You probably do too, and I suspect even the author of this question knows exactly what's going to happen, but for the sake of scientific procedure, we're going to conduct the experiment anyway. I suspect that what happens is going to be far less interesting than why it happens, and that's probably what this question was really asking about anyway. Keep your hypothesis in mind. What we're about to do is either going to prove or disprove it. I'm starting with this orange 8-inch cabinet, and I'll be running my Friedman Vintage T into it using standard Hosa cables. Now, I don't think those results are going to surprise anybody. It didn't do anything. A guitar pickup on its own is not capable of driving a speaker. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, those were P90s. What would happen instead if we ran some high output active pickups into the cabinet? Or if we got a distortion pedal, maxed out the gain and volume, and threw that through it instead? I still think I know what's going to happen here, but place your bets, we're about to find out. Yeah, once again, basically nothing. With the Rat maxed out, it was just enough to get the speaker to faintly buzz, but the sound was so quiet it was basically inaudible, drowned out by the acoustic sound of the strings. Active pickups and effects pedals on their own aren't capable of driving a speaker. Now here I have my orange Micro Dark, a tiny little amplifier. Let's plug this into the speaker and see what happens. Okay, enough stating the obvious. We all know we need an amplifier of some kind to make our guitar sounds loud. But that doesn't answer the question why this can drive a speaker and this can't. The answer is current. A speaker is a coil of wire stuck to a paper cone in the presence of a large magnet. In order to get that paper cone to move and then generate sound, a current needs to flow through the coil. That current generates its own magnetic field. That field interacts with a large magnet, and when two magnetic fields interact, they either attract or repel one another. The big magnet is fixed in its position to the speaker chassis and cannot move, so all of the movement is exerted on the coil, which pushes the cone, and we get sound. It's very clear, therefore, that the amount of current passing through the coil will have a direct influence on how much the cone moves, and therefore how loud the sound will be. The electric current generated by a guitar pickup is tiny. Here I'm measuring the current directly from the guitar pickup, and it's so small the meter doesn't even register it, less than 1/10 of a milliamp. The same is true for the distortion pedal. The current here is much higher certainly, but even with all this signal gain, the current is only in the range of somewhere around 1/4 of a milliamp. It's nothing. But if we measure from the amplifier output, even at low volumes from this tiny 20-watt amplifier, we can easily exceed 200 milliamps, and that current will only get larger the more we turn the amplifier up. This is the purpose of an amplifier, to take a very small current and make it into a much larger current. The way that valves or transistors amplify is to take the very small signal coming from your guitar and using that as a control input for a much bigger current passing through the amplification device. This replicates all of the small movements in the tiny signal within the much bigger one. The vast difference in current between what's coming out of your guitar pickup or effects pedal and your amplifier output is also why you should use a speaker cable to connect your amplifier to your cabinet and not an instrument cable. Instrument cables are designed to handle the tiny currents coming out of your instrument. Speaker cables are designed to handle the much bigger currents heading towards your speaker. Make sure you're using the correct cables for the correct purpose, or you're in for some trouble. This is also why you can't place pedals between your amplifier head and speaker cabinet. All of that excess power will fry your pedal, so don't do it. That's not how an effects loop works. And of course, it's why you need to make sure you have the correct power rated speaker for your amplifier. If you were to plug one of these 20 watt speakers into a 200 watt amplifier and turn the volume up beyond a certain point, then the amount of currents coming out of the amplifier would burn out the speaker's voice coil. I've demonstrated this in a video that I did with orange amplification a few years ago. You should go and check that out. In conclusion, amplifiers are not a lie. They are essential if you want to drive a speaker enough to generate useful sound. Guitars and pedals on their own don't have the power needed to make a speaker move, so if you want to cut out part of your rig to make it easier to transport, make sure it's not your amplifier. Don't forget to click all the buttons you're supposed to make this video viable to the ever-changing whims of the YouTube algorithm. That's all for now. Keep it loud and stay safe. That was pretty good.